Hey everybody. Wow, I was really surprised at how many responses I got on these 6mm buildings. So, I decided I would take one through the later stages of doing it. I really had no idea you guys were this interested in this kind of stuff. So, the building I made yesterday, what I did is I spray painted it black. Now, very important here. I spray painted it black with a latex spray paint. If you hit it with a standard alcohol-based spray paint, it's going to eat this alive. Now, you may want to do that for parts of the building. As a matter of fact, I have done that. These are relatively thin, but because it eats the foam, it's going to make your structure weaker. It's going to break it down a little bit. So, you know, depending on the conditions that you play under, if you have kids, etc., etc., attack cats that destroy your stuff. I think Canlupian's cat's taken out a couple of his stuff. Anyhow, use it with your own discretion. Basically what I'm trying to get across. Also, you're going to notice where the glue makes contact, here's a good example. Where the glue makes contact, it's not going to necessarily... do I have like the worst lighting situation ever? Okay, you might be able to see it now. The paint tends to run off the plastic. So, you may need to retouch it. In my case, it doesn't really matter because this is only part one of what I do. There's not a lot more you really need to do. If you want to do like a burnt out building, black is not necessarily a bad color to leave it at. And depending on where you're playing, like if it's desert, you may want to use a different color other than gray. But because buildings are made out of concrete, I take it to the next step. Next step is hitting it. I give it a technique that I call dusting. I use a gray latex-based spray paint, and I hang back about 2 feet, and I spray it real lightly, because I don't want to wipe out the black. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to wipe it out, but I want to assert that this is concrete. Okay, so I give it a light dusting of concrete, or I mean of like a light gray, be medium gray, light gray, whatever you can run across. Latex spray paint is like, God, almost impossible to find nowadays. Here we go. Let's get this light closer. So anyhow, so you can kind of see what's going down. Now you'll notice there's no real detail here. There's a couple things you can do. You can draw lines either where your windows would be or where your layers hook up, and continue those lines, you know, upper line and a lower line, and track it all the way around. You can do that if you want to do that. That's very, very hard to freehand this. And depending on the grain and how dull your saw is and how much it's chewed up this surface, that could be a real big headache for you. I had a brainstorm recently, and these are zip ties. There is a grain to it. Let's see if I can get the light to hit it just right. Yeah, there's a grain to it like a ladder, and it's got a nice futuristic look. It could even work for modern. If you're talking like shades, you know, they've got like the louver shades that, you know, open and close. So, taking that as how I want to do my windows, I've utilized it in that manner. Try and get the... You see how the detail comes out there? Now, it's depending on how much you like it or not like it, You know, that's entirely up to you. Because my break lines are so difficult, I'm not going to take it all the way to the edge and cut angles and stuff to make it look, you know, like it continued on. It's a ton of work. It really is a ton of work. So, you know, I'm trying to do this as a living, and God, it's really hard. We'll see if I'll be able to make it. But anyways, enough of that. Alright, some other things. These can be landing pads, these can be decks, these can be any kind of thing you want. I left this side open specifically because I wanted to show you this. Here's a nice larger scale deck. You can mount it right on it. Okay. Obviously, you can't put your windows there then if you go to do that, or if you do, you have to at least etch around so it fits over those pieces that stick out. Another thing you can try and do is do like external. Let's use these two. External elevator. It's really hard to show this flat. These are probably going to slide off at a certain angle, yeah. But you get the main idea. You can put these on, and people will recognize them immediately for what they are, elevator shafts. And there's two ways you can do it. You can do it open, or you can do it closed. It doesn't matter which. And if you're not going to run the whole thing up, you should break it up a little bit to make it a little more visually interesting to whoever is observing it. The other thing that I have is just some first story ruined buildings. Now these are kind of cool because you can run your figures around in them. You know, I kept them big enough they could run with the square old 40K bases. You'll notice I have a lot of external supports. I have made a lot of them with external supports. The problem is external supports are notoriously weak. They do break rather easily, so again, based on who you play with and what your gaming arrangements are, you might want to stick with just square structures, because square structures you can drop them flat and they're going to be okay. You drop these flat on a nice little point and you're going to bust it off. However, you know, if you don't mind fixing your stuff, it's the easiest fix in the world. Just take a little bit of black, dot your black over your pink or your blue, whatever it's made out of. Once that dries, just dab on some light gray, done. Very, very easy fixes. About the easiest fixes you're ever going to get. Also, if you like using your scrap, my God, you can make cities of this stuff on your scrap. Because you're cutting everything so thin. So it makes pretty impressive cities. If you go to my website, you'll see some shots of a smaller size city I made. I think I might make another one, because I really do like the look of these, and I've been dying to play some 6mm games. I got some pretty cool vehicles that I like to roll out. Here's an example of a monstrous little bit of dust, huh? But, you know, something like that. Yeah, imagine that rolling across the battlefield at you, and you're just the size of a space marine. Yeah, he'd ride over you and not even know it. So, yeah, I like to play some pretty big games. I've always liked 6mm, the epic scale. You know, really gives you a different, how do I say it, grandiose appeal. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, if you ever looked on, like, Stalingrad or something. A Stalingrad board, same kind of thing. So, that's a quick how-to, and thanks so much for watching. Hope I cleared up any questions that you may have had, and when I make more of these, I'll show you what a cityscape looks like. Alright, take care everybody.